What is up, people? It is me, Monster58. Welcome back to another video, and today, guys, is my 500 subscriber special. So before we get into anything, I'd like to just say a massive thank you to all of you who have subscribed, who have watched either my Hot Wheels shorts, any of my random clips, my figure reviews, my Let's Plays, whatever you've watched on my channel. I thank you so much for taking the time, especially for those of you who've also left comments and engaged with me in a very positive manner. I really do appreciate even some of the negative ones. I appreciate it because that's engagement. Haha, haters. But regardless, thank you all so much. At the end of the day, this isn't a big milestone for a lot of people, but for me, as someone who's been building this up slowly, this feels really, really good to finally hit the 500 subs because I had been like teetering on like 490 plus for a while now, so I was just kind of waiting for it. Now, I apologize about this video coming out super, super late. This probably should have been released like a week or two ago at this point. And the main reason it hasn't is because, despite the fact that I was teetering on 500 subs, and I was very aware of said fact, unfortunately, there was a lot of things going on in my personal life, and I hope you guys can relate to that. That just took way more priority over my YouTube channel. At the end of the day, this is still just a hobby for me. It's not a full-time job or anything like that, and so I had some stuff in my life that took much more precedence over this, and again, I hope you guys can relate to that. But finally, I've been taking the time to really work on this, to really get it ironed out, to really make sure that it's a solid video for you guys that you can enjoy for entertainment. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to do for my 500 subscriber special, I was kind of thinking a few different things, but the main thing that I've always wanted to do was to get you guys to get to know me a bit better as a person. I feel that for 500 subs, that probably might end up helping out my channel in the future a bit more, knowing my game taste and whatnot. And so, guys, today for my 500 subscriber special, we are going to be doing my top 5 favorite games of all time with a few honorable mentions. And like I said, the reason I wanted to do this is because I want to get you guys to get to know me a bit better, because even though I've expressed my love for the games that I've obviously Let's Played, at the end of the day, I haven't done that in full. I haven't really talked about some of my favorite games of all time, why they are my favorite games of all time, and any fact like that. But the thing is here, before we get into the actual list, I'd like to make a disclaimer about this list. Even though that there are clearly going to be games objectively lower on the list that are going to be higher up on the list, that should be higher up on the list when we're talking about like what is objectively better, at the end of the day, this is very biased. It's my favorite game. So I understand if you guys can disagree to an extent of like, oh, this game maybe should be higher or lower. That doesn't matter in this context. What matters is these are my favorite games and why. And it doesn't just have to deal with the actual objectivity of how good X game is compared to X game. It also has to do with a lot of personal attachment to these games, nostalgia, what have you, any other memories that I have attached to these games. Those have a massive influence on why these games are my favorite, and more or less like that. So the way I'm going to be doing and talking about each of these games is I'm going to start off by talking about more or less what I like about the actual game itself, and then if I have a personal reason or personal reasons, then we'll get into that in the back half of talking about each game. And so what I'll do is I'll go through games number 5 through 2, and then we'll do the honorable mentions right before number 1, and then we'll obviously talk about number 1. So, enough babbling from me. Again, I'd like to thank you guys again for the 500 subscribers, and I hope you guys, if you're new to the channel, I hope you will stick around for more content. Again, it's just a huge thank you. I have no words beyond that. So, without further ado, folks, let's get into the list. Alrighty, guys, at number 5, it's a little bit weird. You guys really haven't seen me talk about this too much unless you follow, like, my Twitter or even my Instagram. Sid Meier's Civilization 6 is going to be number 5. So, objectively, what do I like about this game? I think the game looks great. As a history buff, out of the, when it comes to the so are the subjects that you experienced in grade school, from math to science to social studies, gym, art. Besides like art, I really enjoyed social studies, and as I've grown older, history has become like something that I really enjoy sort of learning about. Like recently I just watched a video from the channel Fern, their documentary channel. Fantastic content, by the way. Highly recommend if you like long form content to watch their channel. I just watched a video like talking about like the various theories on talking about how the pyramids were built in ancient Egypt. So it's pretty cool, to see a game like this where even though there are many historical inaccuracies from what I've gathered online, at the end of the day, this has taught me a lot about different cultures and things that I don't know. I like to try to be a cultured person in the way of understanding different cultures, different perspectives from those cultures, and this game has really taught me a lot about, civilizations I didn't even know about. I didn't know that the ancient Cambodians were called the Khmer. I didn't know of the ancient, essentially the Native Americans of Canada, the Cree. I didn't know about the Cree, Poundmaker and his people. In addition to that, I didn't know that I was, to sort of piggyback off that, I didn't know that the Cree language is kind of like an anomaly in terms of like how many people still speak it. It's very, very little people still speak it fluently. It's kind of a dying language, which is really sad to see. But you get where I'm coming from. In addition to that, when it comes to the gameplay, it is not perfect. I still think that the 2-2 tile BS is still so dumb, and the fact that they kind of changed it a bit too much, in my opinion, going to Civ 7 when I was hoping they would just kind of fix the 2-2 tile start locations. At the end of the day, it's really fun. It's, when I started learning this game, it was one of those things where, to me, I treated it, and I was taught to treat it sort of like a giant chessboard with obviously thousands of more variables available at your fingertips. But at the end of the day, from that moment on, when my friends introduced me to this game, I just really took to it. It took me a while to really sit down and learn, but I not only was able to learn it, but I found YouTubers like Potato Pink Whiskey and Bostius and Ursa Ryan, some of the biggest creators in the civilization space and the 4X game space in general. And I really grew to enjoy this game, and this is now a game for me, sort of on the more personal side, getting into that section, that has become like a comfort game for me. I'm sure a lot of you have comfort games or comfort series of games that you like to play when you don't think of anything else to play and you want to play something. This has become it, and my parents also sort of enjoy that too, like the sort of the history behind it, despite again the historical inaccuracies throughout the game. But for the most part, it's cool because I can teach them things and talk to them about things that they didn't know about. I've mentioned to them, not characters, civilizations like the Cree, like they didn't know that was what a good chunk of the Native Americans who lived in Canada, that was the Cree existed there, and I assume that a lot of you also still exist out there now if any of you are Cree and are watching this video. But you guys get what I'm saying. And especially during some of like the seasons, I tend to be a very seasonal person, because I think after 3 or 4 months my mind gets tired of seasons in general, of the same thing over and over again. And so where I live, all the seasons come through this area. We get summer, we get spring, we get fall, we get winter. And during those seasons I like to play civs that kind of like, I guess, mirror the weather outside. When it's spring, I can play, certain civs. When it's summer, I play civs, maybe like the seafaring civs, like Portugal or, the Maori. Then when we get into fall or, especially like when we're getting into the winter months, I play like Canada or Russia, these very snow-faring civs. So it's really, really fun, and it's very comfortable for me. That's why I have 700 hours on this game, is because I have fun just sitting there clicking, watching like a documentary or YouTube video on my other monitor. And yeah, so over the years it's become that game for me. And so despite its flaws, despite it not being perfect whatsoever, I think the game looks great. It's very fun to play still, and it's become my comfort game, and I've learned a lot more about history about it. So really, really enjoy Civilization 6. The reason it's the lowest on the list is because a lot of the other games further up the list have more personal attachment to, or objectively better, in my opinion. The next game is actually, in my opinion, objectively way better than Civ 6. But at the end of the day, you'll see that as we get higher into the list, the personal attachment grows bigger and bigger and bigger. So just want to say that right now. Alrighty guys, at number 4, we have a game that I've Let's Played on my channel, Monster Hunter World. This is a game that I ended up discovering because it was the summer of when this game came out, I think it was. And basically there were a lot of streamers that I was following at the time, particularly League of Legends pros who had retired, that were playing this game. And I didn't know what it was. Honestly, Monster Hunter was sort of a game series that I touched maybe once or twice, and I don't remember much from it. And so when I saw this game, I was like, oh, this game looks awesome. What is that game? And I found out it was Monster Hunter World. In fact, I found out about it through a streamer, former League of Legends pro player, I'm a Cutie Pie, and he was playing the game, and I was like, oh, this game looks awesome. It looks super sick, and it looks really, really fun. And so when I looked up the game, I was like, I'm going to get that game when I come back home, because at the time I was in college. And basically, I came home for fall break. It was right before midterms. and then I ended up buying the game at my local GameStop for my Xbox One, and then I played it a ton when I was back home, and then I played it when I went back to college a lot too. It was like one of those games where I was just stuck on it for hours. And so when it comes to objectively liking the game, despite the story being sort of very straightforward, it's a nature based, hierarchy game. At the end of the day, I still like the voice acting. I think the game looks fantastic. The ambiance is so cool because I think that the way that this game works is just like I mentioned in the Monster Hunter World Let's Play. They've really used fictional realism in this game where they take a lot of things that are real IRL, in real life, but they just put spins on it, like Rathalos at the end of the day, despite it being a dragon, they still have a lot of real world elements on its food chain, what it eats, why it does certain things, how it can survive without its tail. A monster like Anjanath, for example, that the reason it's furry and hairy on the back is because there's a lot of theories that go around when it comes to actual dinosaurs that existed, that dinosaurs had feathers, which is why they say that like the very ancient descendants of dinosaurs ended up being birds, right? Because of that very theory and idea that dinosaurs might have had feathers, including a T-Rex. I like Zinogre. At the end of the day, they just basically took a wolf, added a bunch of scales to it, and then added thunder to it, thunder and lightning to it. There's a lot of fictional realism, and I like every area in this game, even though it's not as open world as maybe you necessarily expect it to be. At the end of the day, it is open world enough to the point where each of these areas feels so real. It's not like walking into a town in a certain game and it's supposed to be bustling, but there's very few NPCs around. It doesn't feel alive, right? And every time I enter into one of these areas in Monster Hunter World, it feels alive, and the designs and the sound design and the music of these areas, as well as the monsters themselves, really really hammer home this idea of this entire ecosystem being alive. And I really really love that about Monster Hunter World. And obviously the gameplay is so much fun, having so many different weapon types. There's so many different weapons to choose from that anyone can find an amazing play style that they can adhere to, and a few weapons that they can enjoy. Killing a monster, getting or capturing a monster, either or, getting its materials to build armor and weapons to then take on a bigger and stronger creature, and to be able to do that once again, for another stronger creature, is just very rewarding gameplay. It kind of feels like good old-fashioned video gaming, right? And so I really, really love that. And plus, when it comes to the DLC of this game, Iceborne, my god, I mean, they basically made an entirely new game for Monster Hunter World, and it made it even better than it was before, somehow. Like, it was so good before, made it even better, and then you had collaborations with Final Fantasy, you had collaborations with The Witcher, you had other collaborations as well, and it was just so, so cool overall when it comes to this game that it was just so good, and it's so addicting. I still have the combos ingrained in my fingers. There's a reason I Let's Play this on my channel. Now, for personal reasons, the main reason is because my dad enjoyed nature documentaries. He has a lot of DVDs and videotapes and things. He watched Animal Planet a lot when I was younger. And so to see these documentaries and, all these nature things, it really sort of hammered that home in my head. And so playing this game, it kind of felt like being in a wildlife documentary, right? And so even though my personal reason for this game really isn't all that big when it comes to why I love this game, really, I love this game so much because of how alive it feels at the end of the day. That's ultimately why it's number 4 on the list. Even though there's not much personal attachment, I think just the weight of how good this game is, and I've put 1,000 hours into this game, over 1,000 hours or something like that, rewards it with being number 4 on the list rather than number 5. I haven't even spent that much time in Civ, and I've spent a ton of time in Civ. Having 300 more hours in a game is pretty damn insane, and I just really, really love it. And again, there's a reason I Let's Played it on my channel. League of Legends, Rito Juegos, Riot Games' biggest child and, most important child at the end of the day. When it comes to League of Legends, objectively about this game, I don't really honestly like all that much. I think the game looks fine. It plays really well, I'll tell you that much, in terms of, like, the complexities of, item and champion builds, being the biggest MOBA on the planet, also being the biggest esport on the planet. There's a lot of complexity to this game. It's very fun in a vacuum when you don't have to deal with people. Obviously, being in an online game, you have to deal with pretty much people all the time. And the champion designs are really, really cool. And the sort of the tie-ins to like, big music artists and stuff like that. From K-pop groups to groups like Imagine Dragons, right? To Zed. There's so many different artists that Riot Games has collabed with for League of Legends. There's a lot that I've objectively enjoyed about this game, but also just as many people who play League, I recommend you don't play the game if you've never played it before, because it's terrible otherwise. Objectively, it's just dealing with people is a pain. It's a very toxic community at the end of the day. I'm just used to it after all these years I've been playing. If you guys want to know, my first login screen was the original Gatekeeper Galio screen. So that was released around April of 2012. I've been playing around since like mid to late 2012, something like that. So it's been a long time. I've been playing this game for basically almost 15 years at this point. It's actually kind of crazy when I think about it like that. But the main reason this game is higher on the list than the other two is because my personal attachment means a lot to me. The main reason this is high on the list is because this is my friend's game. This is our game. This is the boys. This is our game, right? This is the game that kept us together despite us all separating at many points in our lives. We played this game a lot in high school. I met a lot of my dearest and closest friends into my heart in high school through this game. I became a bachelor to one of my friends recently, who I met through this game. Like, that's how close we've become. And the other friends that I met through this game were also bachelors with me for him. So you guys can understand how much this game has kept us together, because after high school, we kind of separated. I went to college. A few other people went to college. Some people stayed home. Some people just worked, right? And so because of that, we all kind of separated, and it wasn't always easy to be together. But the one game we always had together to be able to play with one another, that we always defaulted to when we couldn't think of anything else to play, was League of Legends. And so at the end of the day, despite my constant and anyone's constant, excuse my language, bitching about this game online, I'm saying how bad it is, 200 years, all these, balance, complaining about balance and whatnot. My personal connection to this game is mainly due to the fact that this game has kept my friend group together. We still play it to this very day. You're probably seeing gameplay from ARAM Mayhem and a couple of norms that I played recently with some friends of mine. I actually played some flex with some friends. I was playing mid lane, even though I'm a top laner. But you guys get the idea. Is at the end of the day, despite me not liking that much objectively about League of Legends, even though that there's things to like, at the end of the day, the main reason this game is number 3 is because this is the game that's kept me and my friends together, and my friends mean a lot to me. We're family at this point, and because of that, I have to credit Riot for making a game that has kept us this hooked for this long. So at the end of the day, League of Legends at number 3. Thank you, Riot Games. I have not much more to say about it. Just like Monster Hunter World, this is another video game that I've Let's Played on my channel, and it's actually the first Let's Play I've ever done in the first video series. Transformers War for Cybertron. I would have put Transformers Fall of Cybertron on this list, and I really, really wanted to. I had a hard time choosing between the two. But at the end of the day, despite Fall of Cybertron being pretty much objectively better than War for Cybertron in every single possible way, I had to put War of Cybertron because this was the game that I played the most of. In multiplayer alone, I think I had maybe 500, 600 hours in just Team Deathmatch alone. But objectively about the game, what do I like? The multiplayer was fun as hell. The classes were so much fun to, mess around with and do. There were so many different play styles, from the scientist to the soldier to the leader to the scout. They were all so much fun to play, so many different characters. The DLC character chassis were really cool, from like Scattershot to Jazz to, I believe, Slipstream was also one of them as well. But the other thing I love about this game is the story. At the end of the day, it really gave me, as a kid, as a Transformers fan, it really gave me an idea of like what genuinely happened on Cybertron during their war prior to like the G1 cartoon. It's pretty cool for me, it's kind of like my own headcanon of like, oh, this happened on Cybertron before they came to Earth in G1 and stuff like that. Like even before episode 1 of Transformers G1, right? And so I really like that. In addition, the graphics at the time looked really awesome. The Cybertron felt alive and mechanical at the same time. In addition to that, one of the other things that was amazing was the voice acting. Peter Cullen coming back for Optimus Prime at the time, getting some really good voices for Megatron, for Starscream, for even Bumblebee, Ratchet, Ironhide. Just really, really good voice acting all around, sound effects, story, gameplay. All of it was there. It was just there in that game. And as a Transformers fan, this and Fall of Cybertron are probably the best Transformers games ever made. They're just so, so good. Gameplay felt so crisp. And like I told you, I played so much online. I got to the point where I was like playing against like the top 10 people rated in Team Deathmatch. The only reason that the game ended up kind of dying out despite except its old age is mainly due to the cheating. There was a lot of cheating in the later stages of the multiplayer aspect of Transformers War for Cybertron, and even Fall of Cybertron, to be frank with you. But for War for Cybertron, it got really bad where there was some people who were taking kill streaks that were meant to be put on other characters as you got further and further along, and then they would throw them on other characters that didn't deserve them. They would give them like insane health and then these abilities that they couldn't use. Like it was really bad. I experienced a lot of that cheating as we got later into the life of the game in and of itself. But I still enjoyed the hell out of the multiplayer. I got so ingrained in the multiplayer. I was fighting clans. Like I was fighting against like clans like you guys know the Lives. They were all like there was a bunch of people with like their name like X name Live. Like and I remember I played against so many of the Lives. I played so many against the other clan people as well. There was a ton of them on War for Cybertron at the time. But it was just a really, really good time. And so when it comes to my personal love for this, it kind of ties into all of my objective love for it. And that's just because I love Transformers. You guys know I review Transformers on my channel. I have a huge connection and love for the series in general. And in addition to that, the main reason that I use this as my headcanon, the main reason that I even love Transformers in general to begin with, which is why it helps out that this game kind of feels like my headcanon for prior to G1, is a very personal story. My family has family in Canada, and so we would drive up there a decent bit to visit them. And I remember I was probably like 10 years old, maybe a little less, or maybe a little older at the time. And when I was sitting in the foyer of my cousin's house, sitting there on the foyer on the floor, waiting for my parents to come downstairs so that we could go home. I was just sitting there, just kind of maybe playing on my Game Boy or something like that at the time. And my cousin at the time, who was in his like late 20s, early 30s, walked up to me and tapped me on the shoulder, and he gave me a full box set of the original Transformers Generation 1 cartoon of Season 2. And since then, I still have the box set. It has been very good condition. But ever since that moment, my love for Transformers has only exploded. I used to watch that season all the time when I was a kid, and because of that, you get me today. That's why I review Transformers. That's why I've done Transformers War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron on my channel. That's why when you look at my social media, I'm talking about Transformers more than likely at some point during the day. I'm keeping up with all the Transformers releases. I still look at Transformers, merchandise and things when I go out and about. That is exactly why this game is high on this list, because my personal connection to Transformers as a whole, with this being the best Transformers game next to Fall of Cybertron, obviously, really hits home why this game is at number 2. But there's just one more game that exists above this that I have a bigger and deeper personal connection to, as well as for the entire series. And so before we get into that, though, let's get into these honorable mentions. Alrighty, for honorable mention number 1, we're going to go through these kind of rapid fire like I can. Pikmin 2, if you had to, I would put the whole series on here, but at the end of the day, if you had to, gun to my head, pick one game, it would absolutely be Pikmin 2. Despite it being probably and objectively the worst game in the series, despite it looking visually better than Pikmin 1, at the end of the day, this is the game of the Pikmin series I've played the most. It was a game that I actually still have on GameCube. I have the disc, I have the original case that it came in. I played it a ton. And my love for this game and how much I've played it, there's a lot that I know about this game. It's the one I'm most knowledgeable about of the Pikmin series. I just played it a lot, and just like the original Pikmin game and Pikmin 2, there's a reason why I'm Let's Playing the entire series thus far on my channel. I don't know when I'll be doing Pikmin 3. It'll come at some point, but yeah, there's a reason that I've done Pikmin 1 to Pikmin 2 already, because I really just love this series. Next is Need for Speed Most Wanted from 2005, not the 2012 Xbox or PS, whatever release at the time. Need for Speed Most Wanted in 2005, widely regarded as one of the best, if not the best Need for Speed game of all time. In my opinion, I objectively just love the gameplay, the story, even though it's so cheesy and everything like that. The fact that your car gets taken at the beginning of the game gives you a whole big reason to why you want to play through the game and beat it to begin with, to get your car back. Like, that's such a cool reason in a stupid street racing game that felt so gritty, especially for 2005. This is exactly the vibe of those like mid 2000s. Very gritty, very sort of unapologetic, very like metal heavy. It was just the era of this game. And in addition, the other reason, I'm a huge car guy. You guys know this if you follow any of my social media. I love cars. It's my one true passion. And because of that, there's just a lot to love for me about this game. And so, despite the fact that I really can't show gameplay because I don't have any way to record Need for Speed Most Wanted, at the end of the day, I played this game so many times. The BMW M3 GTR is probably one of the most iconic video game cars of all time, if not the most iconic video game car of all time. When it comes to real cars, I just absolutely love this game and will always treasure it with all my heart because I still also have it for GameCube, just like I played it when I was a kid. Cop chases also were an insane amount of fun. The amount of intensity in those is crazy. Next, Final Fantasy 16. There's a reason I'm let's playing this game. There's no real personal attachment. I'm just gonna tell you the main reason it's even here as an honorable mention is because, man, probably one of the best games I've ever played. Story is fantastic, gameplay is amazing. I found myself crying through many points within the story of Final Fantasy 16. Just an incredible game all around. Clive is a fantastic character. His arc is absolutely insane. Same for any of the other characters in that game. Just absolutely love it. I'm not gonna say much beyond that because I'm still let's playing the game, but regardless, I just absolutely love that game. Visually stunning, emotionally riveting, voice acting fantastic, music amazing, gameplay great. Just a really amazing game all around. Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. I love the Budokai series. That's what got me into Dragon Ball games in the first place. I used to sit in the frickin' just random battles with characters with big beam effects, and you would do these beam clashes just for funsies. I would try and bait, like, the CPU. And it was just great. The voice acting, obviously, they got all the voice actors from Dragon Ball to be able to do their characters. Recreating all of the arcs was really, really cool in the game. Being able to pick these crazy characters and play as them, even from the movies as well. Just so much fun gameplay as well. There's a reason that Sparking Zero was even made. It's to harken back to the old days of the Budokai Tenkaichi days. Just absolutely amazing game. Really, really fun. Had so many endless hours playing this game because I love Dragon Ball, my favorite anime of all time. Just absolutely amazing. Just love this game. And finally, my last honorable mention, Godzilla Unleashed. And I know that this is probably one of the worst games, and particularly for the Wii, by the way. Probably one of the worst games. Probably the worst game I put on this list. But if I had to choose any of the Godzilla Pipeworks games, Unleashed I played the most of by far. Not even a question. I absolutely love Godzilla Unleashed, despite how terrible that game is. I just love the monster roster, despite the cutscenes being so glitchy and terrible. There wasn't really any to begin with, like, that were significantly cool. They added 2 new characters, Crystalak and Obsidious, that were game exclusive. Really, really like their designs. I think they're awesome kaiju. And there's a reason I review Godzilla figures on my channel and just giant monster figures in general. Just because I love Godzilla, man. And when I was a kid, I played Destroy All Monsters Melee. I played Save the Earth. I played Unleashed. These were all of my favorite Godzilla games. And I played the hell out of them. And Unleashed was the one I played the hell out of the most. I love how you split the factions between the Earth Defenders, the mutants, the aliens. There was and the Global Defense Force. It was just so cool, despite how terrible the game was in general. So laggy, so glitchy, such slowdown, such lag in these games because the game couldn't freaking handle certain things. It was a ridiculous game. Very bad, but very, very fun, especially when I was a kid. And so, guys, for my favorite game of all time, it's no surprise. My favorite game of all time, I think I mentioned this on my Twitter. I mentioned this in the Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee Let's Play. Pokemon Platinum. Objectively, what do I like about this game? I think it's one of the best stories in the series. I think it was a leap forward in terms of gameplay, especially when it comes to the physical special split that we got in Generation 4. In addition to that, I think Platinum really improved upon everything that Diamond and Pearl was pretty terrible on, except for the stupid health bar and how slow those would go down. But I think it improved upon everything that Diamond and Pearl set out to do. And it's the penultimate version, in my opinion, of Generation 4. I also really think that this game is one of the longest in terms of the game length in the entire series. I think it's only dwarfed more or less by like Black and White 2 in terms of how much content is actually in just the base game, remove DLCs and anything like that. Just really, really fun. And I really do just have a soft spot for Sinnoh in that regard. But overall, because I played Diamond so much, at the end of the day, objectively, Pokemon Platinum is the penultimate of like the DS games. Just really one of the penultimates of the DS games, in my opinion. Just really, really good, really, really fun. Loved the Pokemon, loved the generation. The story again was great. I just had a really good time playing this game. But the main reason is, the personal reasons for this game being at number one. Number one, when it comes to Pokemon, Pokemon's my favorite media franchise of all time. It has been ever since I was a little kid, and I love anything from the shows to the cards to the games to all the strategy guides I would buy to the plushies that I'd buy, to the endless amounts of random stupid BS house accessories that I have that are Pokemon themed, from the Pokemon clothes that I own. There's just so much about this franchise that I absolutely love and will always cherish with all my heart. In addition to that, when it comes to Pokemon Platinum, I have a very, very personal story when it comes to Pokemon Platinum and its release, which is why it's at number one. This story really hammers it home. So, a few weeks ago, there was a video I saw on Instagram that was a really heartwarming video to me. If you guys know, as of recent, there was a re-release of Black Ops and Black Ops 2 for multiplayer for Call of Duty, and a lot of people are having an absolute blast with it, harking back to those old Xbox Live days, right? There was this video I saw of this guy when he was a kid, and it was a video of his dad pulling out Black Ops 2 and surprising him with it as a gift. And in the video, him as a kid, the guy posting this, was super, super excited. I'll see if I can put it on screen and give credit to the guy in the description, because that was awesome. I'll see if I can at least put a screenshot of the reel that I saw. And when he gets the game, he's like, "Oh, thank you so much, Dad." And he goes to hug his dad. And as he hugs his dad, it cuts to him in the same house, in the same spot, hugging the same spot, but his dad isn't there anymore. And I believe in the caption he talks about how his dad passed away, but that is his favorite memory of his dad and his character and everything like that. And it made me tear up a little bit. Because when it comes to Pokemon Platinum, and respect to you and rest in peace to your dad, brother, that was a really touching video for me, and because of this story. The day that Pokemon Platinum came out, I remember I was waiting for my dad to get home, and I was going to ask him if we could go to GameStop after to pick up the game. And so he got home, and not too long after, I asked him if we could go pick up the game, but he said he couldn't that night. And I was like, "Oh, that really sucks." I was really, really sad. You're like a 10-year-old kid. Of course you're going to be sad. But I didn't think anything of it. More beyond that than me being sad. So I was like, I'll get to play the game, I guess, tomorrow then, or whatever. It's okay. It sucks. I don't want to wait, but I'm going to have to wait, right? So, next day comes, and my family and I, we eat breakfast. We were eating breakfast at the time at our dining room table. And it's a circle table, and we seat four there usually. You can sit more, obviously. We usually sit four chairs at least, but there's three of us. So usually we would, I'd sit between my mom and my dad. Like, my mom and dad would be on either side of me, and I would be in the center. And the chair across from me would generally be the empty chair. And my parents would put whatever on it, from, if they were putting some bags or towels or things like that on there. Maybe dirty dishes when we were waiting to bring them to the sink and stuff like that. And so, we get more or less through breakfast, and I'm going to get up and go and probably, play with my, toy cars, or go do some BS. I don't know what the hell I was doing, right? I can't remember what I'm eating for breakfast yesterday, let alone when I know over 10 plus years ago what I was doing that day. But regardless, I went to stand up and get up, and my dad said, "Hold on, I got something to show you." And I sit back down, and I'm just kind of finishing my food in general, getting my plate. And all of a sudden, I see my dad start to raise something above the lip of the table across from me in the chair that's empty. And I can start to see it crest above the lip of the table. Lo and behold, guys, it's Pokemon Platinum. And of course, I hugged my dad. I thanked him so much for it. I was so happy, and I knew he could see how happy I was on my face. And I took the game, obviously, opened it, and then I threw it right into my DS, and I played all day. And I would play every morning before school. I would chuck my DS into the seat pocket behind my mom when she would drop me off for school. I'd put it in the seat pocket right on the driver's side seat pocket. Um, and as soon as I would get out of school, I would pick up the DS and play on the way home. That's how much I played this game. And to this day, it's probably the game I've had the most hours, probably over 1,500, maybe 2,000 hours into Pokemon Platinum as a whole over the amount of times I played through the game. And yeah, that memory of my dad lifting that game right above the crest of that table and the lip of that table will always be the reason that Pokemon Platinum will remain my favorite Pokemon game and my favorite game of all time, because that memory means so much to me, because I think it's a perfect representation of my family as a kid. And so at the end of the day, guys, my favorite game of all time is Pokemon Platinum, and for that very reason. So, at the end of the day, guys, I hope you enjoyed my list. I would love to hear your guys' list. I'd love to hear your favorite games and any gaming memories that you've had. I'd love to hear that stuff in the comments below. But just before we sign off here, like I said at the beginning of the video, thank you guys once again for 500 subscribers, and I really hope that this was entertaining for you guys to get to know me a bit better, to know sort of, I guess, a little bit more about me and my life. At the end of the day, just wanted to make something a little more special than usual, and this is the thing that I've been wanting to do for years. I've been thinking about doing like a top 5 favorite games of all time or top 10 favorite games of all time list for myself, and finally I've gotten around to doing it. So again, I apologize for this video coming out as late as it has, but I hope you guys can understand from my perspective why it has. But at the end of the day, guys, that's it for my 500 subscriber special, and I thank you all so much. So, I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also, follow me on the socials. Those will be linked in the description below. And with that, guys, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this 500 subscriber special, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.